You're watching Alabama's WVUA News at 10.
Thanks for joining us for this WVUA Special Report, Election 2012. I'm Tamika Alexander.
And I am Terry Brewer. We are continuing our coverage. We've got full coverage for you tonight of so many races. We are watching the Tuscaloosa County probate judge race unfold, which is something that has been watched for about 20 months now.
Highly contested race here in Tuscaloosa County.
Very highly contested race, and it looks like incumbent Judge Hardy McCollum will win a 7th seat as a 7th term in office as probate judge of Tuscaloosa County. And we just heard from Sheriff Ted Sexton, who had tried to unseat Judge McCollum, and Judge McCollum came out to retain that seat. But we heard from Sheriff Sexton. We asked him tomorrow, what will you do? And you'll go back to being sheriff.
Exactly. He'll be back to being sheriff. Did not know that Hardy had had that seat since 1976.
Yeah, 1976, yes. So that is a local race, of course, everyone's watching. And then, of course, all eyes nationally on the presidential race.
And we're going to start tonight with a look at the latest results on the presidential race. Here is the latest breakdown on the popular vote with Republican candidate Mitt Romney. They're looking, he has about 171 votes to President Barack Obama's 148. Again, it takes 270 electoral votes to win the presidency. Alabamians turned out in big numbers today and voted. Now, these are the Alabama results for president here in Alabama. Here's a breakdown. President Barack Obama taking 42% of the votes to Mitt Romney's 58% of the votes.
That's right. And now we want to look at a state-by-state breakdown of how the states are voting. The red ones, of course, are Republican going to Governor Romney, and then the blue states, Democrat for President Obama. And with the state goes the electoral votes, and that's how we get that number, that 270 number that is needed to take the White House. Of course, you see across the Southeast solidly for Governor Romney. And
still have some states we're waiting on. Plenty of states there, Terry.
Plenty of states. Of course, the western states, the polls do not close until later, so we're still going to be waiting on those. And of course, you see there Florida.
Lots of electoral votes up for grabs.
Lots of electoral votes there. Also Virginia and Ohio. Ohio had been, the candidates had been there multiple times in just these last few days. Lots of electoral votes go with those states. Ohio carries, it looks like, 18 votes. Florida carries 29 votes. So those are still out. It does look like North Carolina, though, that's another one of those hotly contested states, is going for Governor Romney, and that carries with it 15 electoral votes. So that is, of course, a big win right there for Governor Romney. Still waiting, though, on Virginia. And also keeping a big look on those local races in West Alabama.
Our probate judge race was a very close one here in West Alabama. Here's a look at the latest numbers. Hardy McCollum is the incumbent Democrat in this race with 61% of the votes to Sheriff Ted Sexton, who's a Republican in the race, 39% of the votes.
All right, and now we are going to return to our own Lynn Brooks. She has been
hanging out with the probate judge all day.
At the McCollum camp throughout the evening, and we're going to go now live to Lynn with another report from the McCollum camp.
Well, we are live at the McCollum headquarters in downtown Tuscaloosa. The latest numbers in this race, 84% of the boxes reporting McCollum currently has 61% of the vote to Ted Sexton's 39% of the vote. So probate judge Hardy McCollum enters a 7th term of office. He first ran for probate judge back in 1976. He is not new to the political scene, and now he will enter the home stretch at seven terms here. We want to thank all of our WVUA viewers who have been staying up with us tonight, and here at the McCollum headquarters, they have been actually watching our live coverage, and you've been watching this evening as the Hardy McCollum supporters have erupted in cheers at various intervals throughout the evening. A reminder of what the Tuscaloosa County probate judge actually does. In essence, the probate judge is basically the mayor of the county. He presides over the Tuscaloosa County Commission. He's also in charge of probate court. There are a few other duties you may be more familiar with. For example, when people say, I'm going to the courthouse to get married, Judge McCollum is the person who presides over that ceremony. And so certainly voters of Tuscaloosa County let their voices be heard with this wide margin between McCollum and Sexton. The key point this evening as results were coming in was this. The Tuscaloosa Academy box, which is typically a box that votes straight Republican, was a box that Judge McCollum won. So when that box came back that was being primarily for McCollum, that was a key point as results came in tonight because, as you know, it's well documented in the state of Alabama. A lot of people vote Republican. A lot of people went into the polls across Alabama and voted that straight Republican ticket because of the presidential election. Hardy McCollum, by contrast, is a Democrat. So there was some concern in the McCollum camp that those straight ticket Republican voters would hurt their chances to win this race. The McCollum supporters also saying they were a little concerned about the more personal nature of this race. In the weeks leading up to tonight, to November 6th, supporters continued to say that they thought this would be their hardest fought victory if they got a victory, which would probably explain why they're hanging around and celebrating a little longer than usual. You know, these folks have been at this a while. They've been around politics. They've been in these political races before. Juanita McCollum, though, tonight saying that this is Judge McCollum's wife saying she was so relieved. And relieved is a word we're hearing a lot here from the McCollum camp. Now, also want to mention that it's very interesting that Judge McCollum has typically run in a lot of races, has run relatively unopposed and is normally at the Tuscaloosa County Annex where results are coming in. And the other person that would normally be in charge of the election results at the annex would be the sheriff. So on a typical election night, if either are running unopposed or if they're not on the ballot, both McCollum and Sexton would typically find themselves at the annex where these results are coming in. But of course, with both of them being on the ballot tonight, the circuit judge had to actually appoint someone, 2 local attorneys, to preside over these elections. So that's just an interesting note. But again, the latest numbers, 61% of the vote going to McCollum, 39% going to Sexton. And we're going to toss it back to the WVUA News Studios.
All right, thanks a lot, Lynn. Also in Tuscaloosa County, a race for Tuscaloosa County Commission District 2.
That's right. We've got some numbers on that one.
Okay, and that race is Billy Skelton, who's the Democrat, with 33%, to Jerry Tingle, who's the Republican, 67%.
Yes, and that will be a new person on the Tuscaloosa County Commission, taking the seat occupied by Gary Youngblood in District 2. So a change up and some new faces on the Tuscaloosa County Commission. We've also got Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court. We'll see if we can get those numbers back up there. Bob Vance right now 52%, Roy Moore at 48%. Of course, Roy Moore, Alabama's former Supreme Court Chief Justice, who was unseated due to the dispute over his 10 Commandments monument.
Another closely watched race.
Absolutely, very closely watched. And of course, the results are still out on that one. We don't have all the numbers, but right now, Bob Vance is in the lead, 52%, Roy Moore 48%. Still very close at this point. We've also got congressional districts up for grabs in Alabama tonight. Let's look at District 4. Robert Adderholt, who is the Republican incumbent, 79%, to Daniel Bowman, the Democrat, 21%. That is in District 4.
The U.S. House of Representatives District 7, Don Chamberlain, who's a Republican in this race, 44%, to Terry Sewell, who's a Democrat, 56%. So it looks like Terry is going to retain her seat representing District 7.